The moment my wife Keira stood up at Romano's bistro and announced she was leaving me, I knew exactly what was happening. The little smirk playing at the corner of her mouth, the way her friends Ali and Marissa had their phones out recording, the staged dramatic pause, it was all too rehearsed to be real. "I can't do this anymore, Trent," she declared, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. You're not the man I married." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I took a slow sip of my beer and watched her performance. At 34, I'd been an electrician long enough to know when someone was putting on a show. Keira had been planning this for weeks, probably longer. The hushed phone calls with her girlfriends, the way she'd been obsessing over her social media engagement numbers, the fact that she'd insisted on this particular restaurant because it had good lighting for photos. "This is it, Trent. We're done." She threw her napkin down with theatrical flair. Ellie giggled behind her phone. Marissa whispered something about going viral. Even Jess, Keira's oldest friend, was recording from across the table. The whole thing was a prank. A birthday prank, to be exact. Keira's 32nd birthday was tomorrow, and apparently humiliating me publicly was her idea of entertainment. I could practically see the hashtags forming in her head. Birthday breakup, / pranking my husband, / social media queen. "All right," I said simply, setting down my beer. That wasn't the reaction she was expecting. Her confident smile wavered slightly. "That's it?" she demanded. "That's all you have to say?" I stood up, pulled out my wallet, and placed $60 on the table, enough to cover our meals and a decent tip. "Happy early birthday, sweetheart." The confusion in her eyes was priceless. This wasn't how her little script was supposed to go. I was supposed to panic, beg, make a scene that would get thousands of views and shares. "Where are you going?" she called after me. "Home," I said without turning around. "To pack." I walked out of Romano's bistro while 4 phones recorded my exit. The last thing I heard was Allie's nervous laugh cutting through the sudden silence. Never interrupt a woman's TikTok moment, I thought as I climbed into my pickup truck, unless you want to be immortalized as a meme. But as I drove through the quiet streets of our small New England town, past the old mill buildings and faded storefronts that gave this place its Stephen King atmosphere, I wasn't thinking about social media. I was thinking about the cloud storage account Keira didn't know I had access to, the one that automatically backed up all her photos, messages, and deleted files, including the ones from 3 months ago when she started her affair with Devin Cross, her coworker at the social media agency. The same Devin who'd been texting her all evening, probably watching her little performance through someone's live stream. Keira thought she was the star of tonight's show. She had no idea the real performance was just beginning. By the time I pulled into our driveway, my phone was already buzzing with notifications. The videos were spreading fast, small towns love drama, and social media makes it travel at light speed. But I ignored the phone and headed straight to my basement workshop. I had work to do. The beauty of being married to someone obsessed with documenting every moment of their life is that they leave a digital trail wider than Interstate 95. Keira had been sloppy, overconfident in her tech skills just because she worked at a social media agency. She'd forgotten that I was the one who set up our home network. I was the one who configured the cloud backup system. And I was definitely the one who had admin access to everything. I sat in my basement workshop at 2 a.m., scrolling through months of recovered data on my laptop. The concrete walls around me felt appropriate, like a bunker where I was planning my campaign. The affair with Devin Cross had started in March. Hotel receipts automatically saved to our shared expense tracking app. Photos she thought she'd deleted backed up to the cloud. Text messages that painted a picture of betrayal so complete it would make a divorce attorney weep with joy. But it wasn't just the cheating, it was what she'd said about me. "Trent's like my safety net," she'd texted Devin. "Boring, but reliable. The backup plan while I figure out what I really want." Another message. "He thinks he's so smart with his little electrical jobs. Meanwhile, I'm building a real career, a real life." And my personal favorite, "The prank is going to be perfect. Film his meltdown, get it trending, then reveal it was fake. The attention will be incredible." I always thought cloud meant heaven, I mused, saving screenshots. Turns out it's where marriages go to die. My phone buzzed. A text from Owen, my best friend and employee. "Dude, saw the videos? You okay?" Instead of answering, I called him. "Jesus, Trent, it's 2 a.m, Owen's groggy voice answered. "I need a favor," I said, "and I need you to not ask questions." "What kind of favor?" "The kind where you help me move some things tomorrow, and maybe do a little creative electrical work." Owen was quiet for a moment. We'd been friends since high school, worked together for 5 years. He knew me well enough to read between the lines. She really cheated on you? Among other things. What do you need? I told him about Devin Cross, about his Tesla Model S that he was so proud of, always posting photos of it on Instagram, about how electric vehicles have such complex charging systems, and how a skilled electrician might be able to install a remote shutoff switch if he had access to the car for just 20 minutes. That's diabolical, Owen said, and I could hear him grinning through the phone. That's just the opening act. By dawn, I had everything planned. Bank accounts, property deeds, insurance policies. I'd been handling our finances for years, while Keira focused on her brand building. She'd signed documents without reading them, trusting her boring but reliable husband to handle the details. Big mistake. At 7 a.m., I called my lawyer. By 8 a.m., I'd transferred our joint savings to a separate account, completely legal since both our names were on it. By 9 a.m., I'd changed the locks on our house and the garage codes. At 10 a.m., Keira came home to find divorce papers taped to the front door and her key no longer working. My phone rang immediately. What the hell is this, Trent? It's exactly what you announced last night, I said calmly. We're done. It was a prank. A stupid prank for my birthday. I know. I saw the text planning it, just like I saw the text with Devin Cross. The silence on the other end was deafening. I also saw the hotel receipts, the photos, and my personal favorite, the messages where you called me your backup plan. Trent, please, we can talk about this. We are talking about it. You wanted a breakup video that would go viral. Congratulations, you got one. I hung up and immediately got a text from Owen. Package delivered. Across town, Devin Cross was about to discover that his Tesla had developed a mysterious electrical problem, the kind that would leave him stranded in the middle of Main Street during lunch rush, with half the town watching him try to push his fancy car out of traffic. I poured myself a cup of coffee and settled in to watch the show. The beauty of small-town gossip is that it travels faster than fiber-optic internet. By noon, everyone knew about the restaurant scene. By 1 p.m., everyone knew about the divorce papers. And by 2 p.m., everyone knew about Devin Cross's very public car trouble. I was having lunch at Mickey's Diner when Mrs. Harker slid into the booth across from me. At 73, she was the unofficial information hub of our town, and she had the satisfied look of someone carrying premium gossip. Heard you had some excitement last night, she said, stirring sugar into her coffee. Nothing I couldn't handle. Mm-hmm. Also heard that young man Devin had car trouble today, right in front of the post office. Quite a crowd gathered. I kept my expression neutral. Technology can be unreliable. Mrs. Harker's eyes twinkled, especially when it's tampered with by someone who knows what they're doing. I wouldn't know anything about that. Course not. But if someone did know something about it, they might also know that Devin's girlfriend Casey is a lovely girl who deserves better than a cheating boyfriend. I looked up from my sandwich. Is that so? Oh yes. Sweet girl. Works at the bank. Very active on social media herself. She leaned forward conspiratorially. The kind of girl who might appreciate knowing the truth about her boyfriend's extracurricular activities. Mrs. Harker slid a piece of paper across the table with Casey's contact information. Hypothetically speaking, she added with a wink. An hour later, I sent Casey a carefully curated collection of screenshots. Nothing explicit, just enough to show the timeline of Devin's relationship with my wife overlapping with his relationship with her. I included hotel receipts and a few choice text messages where Devin bragged about playing the field. I didn't have to wait long for results. Owen called me at 4 p.m., laughing so hard he could barely speak. Dude, you need to get down to the town square, now. I found Owen standing with a crowd of about 30 people, all watching Devin Cross get very publicly dumped by his girlfriend. Casey had printed out the screenshots and was waving them in his face while he tried to explain. 3 months, Devin. 3 months you were cheating on me. Casey, please, it's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Hotel receipts, love messages. You called me clingy while you were telling her she was the one. The crowd was loving it. Someone was definitely recording. In a town where the most exciting thing that usually happened was the annual Pumpkin Festival, this was premium entertainment. Devin spotted me in the crowd, and his face went red. He started walking over, but Owen stepped slightly forward, all 6'4", 250 pounds of him. Problem, Devin? Owen asked pleasantly. Devin was smart enough to stop walking. Casey wasn't done. And another thing, she shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. Your car isn't the only thing that doesn't work right. The crowd erupted in laughter. Devin's humiliation was complete. As people started to disperse, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Allie. Keira's ringleader friend wanted a meeting. This was getting interesting. I met Allie at Brewster's Coffee an hour later. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her phone and checking over her shoulder like she was worried about being seen. "Look, Trent, this whole thing has gotten out of hand," she started. "Has it?" "The prank was my idea, okay? Keira didn't want to do it, but I convinced her it would be good for her follower count. And the affair with Devin? Was that your idea too?" Allie's face went pale. "How did you know about it?" "Allie, I'm not stupid. You all knew. You covered for her. You helped her plan around it." "We didn't mean for it to go this far." I leaned back in my chair. "What exactly did you think would happen? You publicly humiliate me, I find out my wife is cheating, and then what? I just pretend everything's fine?" "She loves you, Trent. The thing with Devin, it's complicated." "No, it's not complicated. It's simple. She wanted her cake and to eat it too. And you all helped her." Allie was quiet for a moment, then she leaned forward. "What do you want?" "I want the truth. All of it. Who knew what, when they knew it, and what they did about it. And if I tell you, then maybe your boyfriend doesn't find out about your little side relationship with Jake from the gym." The color drained completely from Allie's face. "How could you possibly—" "Allie, you all post everything online. You check in everywhere you go. You tag each other in photos. It's not hard to put together a timeline when someone knows what they are looking for." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You're not who we thought you were." "No," I agreed. "I'm not." 20 minutes later, I had a complete confession. Marissa knew about the affair and had been covering with fake alibi posts on social media. Jess had been uncomfortable with it, but went along to keep the peace. All three of them had helped plan the restaurant prank, thinking it would be harmless fun that would boost Keira's social media presence. "She wanted to be an influencer so badly," Allie said. "She thought if she could create some viral content, it would launch her career. Instead, she destroyed her marriage. Will you really tell Marcus about Jake?" I stood up. "That depends on how cooperative you all are going forward." As I walked out of the coffee shop, I felt almost sorry for them. Almost. They'd chosen their side when they decided to help humiliate me. Now they were going to learn what happened when you underestimated the quiet guy who fixed everyone's electrical problems. My phone rang as I got to my truck. "Keira." "Trent, please, come home. We need to talk." "I am home," I said. "You're not." "This is my house, too." "Actually, it's not. Check the deed. Check who's been paying the mortgage. Check who's been paying all the bills while you've been building your brand. You can't just lock me out." "I didn't lock you out. I changed the locks. There's a difference." "Where am I supposed to stay?" "I hear Devin's apartment is nice." "Oh, wait, Casey probably has his key. Maybe Ali can help you out." "Oh, wait, she's got her own problems now." "What did you do?" "I'm just getting started." I hung up and drove home to my quiet house. For the first time in months, I smiled. The prank was over, and the real game was just beginning. Social media is like electricity. It follows the path of least resistance and can burn down everything in its path if you are not careful. Keira and her friends had spent years building their little network of followers, likes, and shares. They'd never considered what would happen if someone turned that network against them. I spent the evening in my workshop, not working on electrical projects, but on something much more interesting: social engineering. Every post, every check-in, every tagged photo from the last 6 months. I built a timeline of lies, affairs, and betrayals that would make a soap opera writer jealous. The next morning, I got a call from Detective Julie Ricks. We'd gone to high school together, and she'd always been sharp. Sharp enough to become the youngest detective in the county, and sharp enough to see through whatever story Keira had tried to sell her. "Trent, I need to ask you a few questions about some vandalism reported at Devin Cross's apartment." "Vandalism?" "Someone broke into his place last night, trashed it pretty thoroughly, spray-painted some choice words on his bathroom mirror." I was genuinely surprised. "That's terrible. Any idea who might have done it?" "Well, given the very public nature of recent events, you'd be the obvious suspect." "Julie, I was home all evening. Check my security system. I've got cameras that timestamp everything." "Already did. You never left the house after 6 p.m. "Then I guess someone else didn't appreciate Devin's lifestyle choices." Julie was quiet for a moment. "Trent, I know what Keira did was wrong, but don't let this turn into something that ruins your life, too." "I appreciate the concern, but I'm handling everything through proper legal channels." "Good. Keep it that way." After she hung up, I called Owen. "Please tell me you didn't trash Devin's apartment." "I didn't trash Devin's apartment," he said immediately. "Owen. I didn't. I may have mentioned to a few people at Mickey's Diner that Devin was the guy who'd been cheating with married women around town, and I may have mentioned that Casey wasn't his only girlfriend. Apparently he's been quite busy. How busy? 3 other women, from what I heard. All of them found out yesterday thanks to Casey posting those screenshots you sent her. Turns out Devin's been running quite the operation. I had to admire the efficiency. I'd only targeted one relationship, but the ripple effect had taken down several. And the vandalism? That would be courtesy of Jennifer Walsh. Her husband's been deployed for 8 months. She didn't take the news about Devin well. Jennifer Walsh was a military wife with a temper and access to her husband's hunting equipment. I made a mental note to stay on her good side. Speaking of ripple effects, Owen continued, you might want to check Keira's Instagram. I pulled up her profile and nearly choked on my coffee. Her follower count was dropping in real time. The comments on her recent posts were brutal. Someone had connected the restaurant prank to the cheating scandal, and the internet was not being kind. Fake breakup for views while cheating on your husband? Classy. This is why I don't trust influencers. All fake. Your husband seems like a decent guy. You lost a good one. But the real damage was in her tagged photos. Her friends were untagging themselves from months of posts. Brands that had been considering partnerships were quietly backing away. Her carefully cultivated online persona was crumbling in real time. My phone rang. Jess? Trent, we need to talk. Do we? I have information you want. Interesting. What kind of information? The kind that shows I wasn't really part of this. An hour later, Jess sat across from me at the same coffee shop where I'd met Allie. But unlike Ali, Jess looked determined rather than nervous. I never liked what they were doing, she said immediately. The affair, the prank, any of it. But you went along with it. I tried to talk Keira out of it, multiple times. I have the text messages to prove it. She showed me her phone, screenshots of conversations where she'd argued against the restaurant prank, where she'd told Keira the affair with Devin was a mistake, where she'd warned that it would all blow up eventually. Why are you showing me this? Because I'm tired of being associated with their drama, and because I think you deserve to know that not everyone was against you. I studied her face. Jess had always been the quietest of Keira's friends, the one who seemed uncomfortable with their attention-seeking behavior. What do you want from me? I want to help. Help with what? Taking them down. Now this was unexpected. Why would you want to do that? Jess's expression hardened. Because they threw me under the bus the second things went bad. Keira's telling everyone I was the one who encouraged the affair. Allie's saying I helped plan the prank. Marissa's claiming I knew about all the other women Devin was seeing. And did you? I knew about the affair with Keira. I suspected there were others, but I didn't know for sure until yesterday. She leaned forward. They're trying to make me the scapegoat for everything. So yes, I want to help you burn it all down. I had to respect the honesty. What kind of help are we talking about? I have access to their group chat. The private one where they planned everything, including the backup plans they're making now. Backup plans? They're planning to claim you've been abusive, that the whole restaurant thing was Keira trying to escape a controlling relationship. They're going to say you've been threatening them, stalking them, harassing them. That was a serious accusation, one that could destroy my reputation and my business, regardless of whether it was true. They have any evidence of this alleged abuse? They're planning to create some. Fake text messages, staged photos, maybe even some bruises courtesy of makeup tutorials. I sat back in my chair. They were escalating this beyond social media drama into criminal territory. That changed everything. When are they planning this? Tomorrow. They're meeting at Ali's house tonight to get their stories straight. I looked at Jess carefully. And you're telling me this because? Because I've known Keira since we were 12 years old, and she's never been the person she pretends to be online. She's selfish, manipulative, and she'll destroy anyone who gets in her way, including me, apparently. What do you want in return? I want to be left out of whatever you're planning, and I want evidence that I tried to stop them. Done. I stood up. Send me everything you have. And Jess, stay away from Ali's house tonight. What are you going to do? I smiled. I'm going to give them exactly what they're asking for. As I walked out of the coffee shop, my mind was already working. They wanted to play dirty. They wanted to make false accusations. They had no idea what they were up against. Time to show them what a real electrician could do when he put his mind to it. Ali's house was perfect for what I had in mind. Built in the 1960s, it had the kind of outdated electrical system that gave me legitimate reasons to be in the neighborhood. More importantly, it had thin walls, single-pane windows, and neighbors who minded their own business. I parked my work truck 3 houses down at 8 p.m., just as Owen pulled up in his personal car from the opposite direction. We'd done this dance before on legitimate jobs. I handled the technical work, he provided backup, and kept watch. "You sure about this?" Owen asked through our radio headsets. "They want to frame me for harassment and abuse," I replied, checking the recording equipment. "I'd rather have evidence of what they're actually planning." The beauty of being an electrician in a small town is that everyone knows your truck. No one questions why you're in their neighborhood. You're probably fixing someone's power problem or installing a new outlet. The fact that I was there at night just meant it was an emergency call. I'd done work on Ali's house 2 years ago, installing a new breaker panel. I knew exactly where the electrical meter was, and more importantly, I knew that her bedroom window faced the side yard where no one could see me work. The recording device was simple: a high-gain microphone connected to a digital recorder, both small enough to hide in the bushes outside her bedroom window. The kind of equipment that private investigators used, completely legal as long as I stayed on public property. "They're all here," Owen reported from his position down the street. "Keira just arrived. That's all 4 of them." "Copy. Starting recording." I placed the microphone in the hedge that bordered Ali's property and the sidewalk, technically public space, and settled in to wait. I didn't have to wait long. The voices came through clearly. Ali's bedroom was apparently where they felt most secure having their planning session. "So we all agree on the story?" Ali's voice. "Trent's been controlling and abusive for months," Keira said. "The restaurant thing was me finally standing up to him. And he's been threatening us since then," Marissa added. "What about the evidence?" Jess's voice. She'd apparently decided to play both sides. "I've got makeup that'll create realistic bruises," Ali said. "We'll take photos tomorrow morning. Say he grabbed me when I tried to talk to him about Keira." "And the text messages?" Keira asked. "Already working on those," Marissa replied. "I've got an app that can fake message threads. Make it look like he's been sending threatening texts for weeks." "What about the affair?" Jess asked. "People know about Devin." "That's why the abuse angle is perfect," Keira said. "I'll say I turned to Devin because Trent was becoming violent. Make it look like I was trying to escape." "And if people ask why we didn't report it sooner?" Ali asked. "Classic abuse victim behavior," Keira replied. "I was scared, isolated, didn't think anyone would believe me." My hands were clenched into fists. They were planning to destroy my life with false accusations, and they were discussing it like they were planning a dinner party. "There's just one problem," Jess said. "What?" "Trent's not stupid. He's been 3 steps ahead of us this whole time. You really think he won't see this coming?" "He's an electrician, not a criminal mastermind," Ali said dismissively. "He got lucky with the Devin thing, but we're talking about serious legal accusations now. He won't know how to handle this." "Besides," Keira added, "what's he going to do? He can't prove we're lying." I smiled grimly and checked the recording. Crystal clear audio of them planning to file false police reports and create fake evidence. This was going to be easier than I thought. "We should probably practice our stories," Marissa said. "Make sure we're all consistent." For the next hour, I recorded them rehearsing their lies, discussing which bruises would be most believable, and planning how to coordinate their fake evidence. By the time they finished, I had enough material to destroy their credibility permanently. "Good meeting," Ali said finally. "Tomorrow morning, we go to the police. And then to social media," Keira added. "This is going to get us so much sympathy engagement." Even in the middle of planning false abuse accusations, she was thinking about her follower count. Some people never change. I packed up my equipment and was back in my truck before they started leaving. Owen followed me home, where we spent an hour reviewing the recording and making backup copies. "This is nuclear," Owen said, shaking his head. "They're talking about filing false police reports, creating fake evidence, the whole 9 yards. Good thing we have it all on tape." "What's the play?" I leaned back in my chair, thinking. They expected me to be reactive, to scramble and defend myself when they made their accusations. Instead, I was going to be proactive. "Tomorrow morning, I'm going to pay Detective Ricks a visit, show her what we recorded, explain what they're planning." "And then?" "Then we let them file their false reports and create their fake evidence. Let them dig their own graves." "That's risky. What if the police believe them initially?" "They won't, not after they hear this recording." I gestured to the audio equipment. "And not after they see the timeline of lies I've been putting together." Owen grinned. "You really have been 3 steps ahead." 4 steps, actually, but who's counting? As Owen left, I sat in my workshop listening to the recording one more time. Tomorrow, Keira and her friends were going to discover what happened when you tried to destroy someone who was smarter, more prepared, and more patient than you gave them credit for. They wanted to play games with false accusations and fake evidence. I was about to teach them the difference between pranks and consequences. The real show was about to begin. Detective Julie Ricks listened to the entire recording without interruption. 90 minutes of Keira and her friends planning their false accusations, complete with discussions of fake bruises, manufactured text messages, and coordinated lies. When it finished, she sat back in her chair and rubbed her temples. Jesus, Trent, they really hate you. The feeling's mutual at this point. This recording, you got it legally? Microphone was on public property. They were speaking loud enough to be heard from the sidewalk. No expectation of privacy. Julie nodded. And you're sure they're going through with this today? According to the recording, they're meeting at the station at 10 a.m. to file their reports. She checked her watch. 9:30 a.m. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take their statements when they come in. Let them dig themselves in deep with their lies. Then I'm going to arrest them for filing false police reports and conspiracy. All of them. All of them. What they're planning is a felony, Trent. They could do serious jail time for this. As if on cue, the desk sergeant knocked on Julie's door. Detective, there's a group of women here to file abuse and harassment complaints. Julie and I looked at each other. Show time, she said. I waited in an observation room while Julie took their statements. Through the one-way glass, I watched Keira perform the role of her life, the terrified abuse victim finally finding the courage to speak out. She had fake bruises on her arms, courtesy of Allie's makeup skills. She had printouts of fake text messages that Marissa had created. She even had tears on command. It was a masterful performance. If I hadn't heard them planning it the night before, I might have believed it myself. Allie went next, claiming I'd grabbed her when she tried to talk to me about Keira. The makeup bruises on her wrists were particularly convincing. Marissa backed up their stories with her fake text messages and claims that I'd been stalking all of them. But it was Jess who surprised me. Instead of sticking to the plan, she told a completely different story. I tried to talk them out of this, she said quietly. The whole thing is fake. They made up the abuse claims, faked the bruises, created fake evidence. I have recordings of them planning it. The look on Julie's face was priceless. Recordings? Voice memos on my phone. I recorded them last night because I knew this was wrong. Jess played several clips from their planning session. Not as complete as my recording, but enough to corroborate everything I'd captured. Julie left Jess in the interview room and went to collect the other three. The conversation was brief. Ladies, you're under arrest for filing false police reports, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. The meltdown was immediate and spectacular. Keira screamed that it wasn't fair, that I'd somehow set them up. Allie demanded to call her lawyer. Marissa just cried. But the best part was when Julie played my recording for them. Watching their faces as they heard their own voices planning to destroy my life was worth every sleepless night I'd spent planning my revenge. How did he get that? Keira demanded. Legally, Julie replied. Unlike the fake evidence you created. 2 hours later, I walked out of the police station a free man while Keira, Allie, and Marissa were processed into the county jail. Jess had been released after agreeing to testify against the others, but I wasn't done yet. The arrest records were public information, and it didn't take long for the local news to pick up the story. Local women arrested for false abuse claims was the headline on the evening news. The reporter even mentioned the social media prank that had started it all. By that evening, the story had gone viral, but not in the way Keira had hoped. The internet loves a good comeuppance story, and this one had everything. Social media pranks, cheating, false accusations, and justice served. Keira's Instagram was flooded with comments calling her out for her lies. Her employer, the social media agency, released a statement distancing themselves from her actions and announcing her termination. Devin, apparently trying to save his own reputation, posted a public apology claiming he'd been manipulated by Keira. The local newspaper ran a follow-up story about the dangers of social media pranks and false accusations. They interviewed me for the piece, and I kept it simple. Some people think life is a performance for social media. They forget that actions have real consequences for real people. 3 days later, Owen and I were having lunch at Mickey's Diner when Mrs. Harker slid into our booth with the latest gossip update. Heard Keira made bail yesterday, she said. Good for her? Also heard she's staying at her mother's place over in Millfield. Apparently no one in town will rent to her anymore. Can't imagine why. Mrs. Harker smiled. Of course, her mother's not too happy about the situation. Seems she saw the news coverage, and the social media posts, and the court documents that are public record. Tough situation. Gets tougher. Heard from my friend at the bank that Keira's been trying to get a loan. Seems she needs money for legal fees. But with no job and a pending criminal case, she shrugged. Meanwhile, Owen added, Trent's been busier than ever. Funny how people want to hire someone who handles his problems professionally instead of airing them on social media. It was true. My phone had been ringing nonstop with new jobs. Apparently, the way I'd handled the situation had impressed people. Who knew that being competent and methodical was such a rare quality? A week later, I got a call from Jess. The plea hearing is tomorrow, she said. I know, I'll be there. Keira wants to talk to you. I'm sure she does. She's not doing well, Trent. The legal fees, losing her job, the public humiliation. She's talking about taking a plea deal. That's between her and her lawyer. She says she's sorry. I was quiet for a long moment. Jess, she tried to destroy my life with false accusations. She cheated on me for months. She publicly humiliated me for social media content. Sorry doesn't really cover it. I know, I thought you should know. The next day, I sat in the courthouse and watched Keira plead guilty to filing false police reports. The judge sentenced her to 6 months in jail, suspended to probation and community service, plus restitution for the investigation costs. Ali and Marissa got similar sentences. All 3 of them now had criminal records that would follow them for the rest of their lives. As we left the courthouse, Keira tried to approach me. She looked tired, defeated, nothing like the confident social media queen who'd stood up in Romano's bistro just a month ago. Trent, please, can we talk? I looked at her for a long moment. We did talk, in court, through lawyers. That's all the talking we need to do. I know I made mistakes. You made choices. There's a difference. I walked away and didn't look back. That evening, I sat on my back porch with a beer, watching the sun set over the quiet town I'd called home for most of my life. My phone buzzed with notifications, friend requests from people who'd seen the news coverage, job inquiries, even a few messages from women interested in dating. But I ignored them all. For the first time in months, I had peace and quiet. No drama, no lies, no social media performances. Just the sound of crickets and the satisfaction of a job well done. Owen stopped by around 8 p.m. with a six-pack and a grin. So what's next? He asked, settling into the other porch chair. Next? You've got your life back, your reputation intact, and your enemies defeated. What's the encore? I took a long sip of my beer and smiled. I'm thinking about taking a vacation, maybe somewhere without cell phone coverage. Sounds perfect. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out over our small town. In the distance, I could hear the faint sound of traffic on the highway, people going somewhere else, chasing something they thought they needed. I was exactly where I belonged. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt truly free. Keira had wanted to make me the star of her social media drama. Instead, she'd given me something much more valuable, the knowledge that I was stronger, smarter, and more resilient than anyone had given me credit for, including myself. The prank was over. The revenge was complete, and I was ready for whatever came next.